I'm standing on Northeast 122nd Avenue because I wanted to take a closer look at it before the City of Portland made a bunch of significant changes, which they plan on doing in the next coming years. With improved safety in mind, the city went out to the public and had a series of open houses and surveys and asked folks what should be the top priority in addressing 122nd Avenue. Currently, there's way too many crashes. It's a typical East Portland arterial. It's very driver-centric. There's scant bikeways, really not great transit access at all. The crossings are wide and scary and high stress, so those aren't good either. So the city went out and asked people what they should do first. How should they prioritize their funding to get 122nd Avenue off their high crash network corridor listing, which is a listing of streets that have an above average rate of injuries and deaths. So in order to do that, they're going to make a series of changes using money from, I think, like the Fixing Our Streets program, which is the local gas tax that passed several years ago, and other sources. So right now, PBOT has a whole list of recommendations, and their draft plan is either already out or coming out really soon. And what that's going to be is a phased approach of how to address the issues on 122nd Avenue. Some of the biggies are improved street lighting, better access to transit stops, improved bikeways. And again, this is a really important north-south arterial that has access to thousands of destinations, schools, parks, jobs, you name it. And the city wants to do what they're doing to a lot of East Portland arterials, which is to essentially tame drivers. Drivers go too fast here. They aren't considerate enough when they drive. They break too many laws. And the design of the street has a lot to do with that. So PBOT wants to come out and do some things to the design, to the signalization, to the lane striping that changes that driving behavior. They also want to do more to encourage people to use other modes that aren't driving. So they're going to improve access to transit and transit stops. In some sections, they're going to be adding protected bike lanes. So they're going to have some physically protected bike lanes on 122nd. And there's some other spot fixes they're going to do, a lot of new street lighting, things like that. So let's take a closer look at it, see what the conditions are now, and talk a little bit about the problems and how they might be fixed. And then when the City of Portland comes out and we start looking at their draft recommendations, we can kind of hit the ground running as far as understanding what this project is all about. It's just kind of a very inhospitable place to ride. And you have these long driveways because of all the, off your phone there, because of all the businesses and other uses here. The driveways are long and frequent, which is sketchy because people dart in and out of them. And again, the lack of protection is just ridiculous. I'm going to be going under I-84 on 122nd. You'll notice how the route has to leave the street, and PBOT routes you up onto the sidewalk here. So now I'm on this narrow sidewalk. The feeling is there's just no room, there's not enough room on the street to safely have a bike lane. So this is the recommended bike route, but as you'll see, it's very, very subpar. Absolutely inadequate. Not only is it narrow, it's really dangerous. The security here is really bad because, you know, there's nowhere to go if you have a problem and need to bail. You've got this hill on the right, and on the left is this fence. You come in this super narrow section. It's dark at night. It's often overgrown with blackberries, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of trash here. What the city wants to do here is actually put the bike lane down on the main street, which is a really good idea if they aren't able to make it work up here. So this is one of the main problems on this stretch that the city is going to try to fix with the 122nd Avenue project. So coming up to the intersection of 122nd, coming up to Gleason here, so this cross street ahead is Gleason. I'm going through this typical treatment where coming up to the intersection where you would need the most protection, the city does a shared bike lane. So they drop the dedicated bike lane and turn it into a shared lane where drivers are able to come over and share that lane with you to make a right. When we have arterials designed like this, it really bugs me. Right next to me, we've got 5 really wide general purpose lanes. So that's two one direction, 2 the other direction, and a nice ample width center turn lane. But I'm sitting here biking in a 4 to 5 foot bike lane unprotected. It's just a gross misallocation of space given the way we want our streets to be designed, or I should say, given what our goals are for transportation. One of the big issues that the public is going to have a hand in deciding is whether PBOT builds, when they do, on the sections of this project, when they do enhance the bikeway. Do they do parking protected, or do they do just buffered? So are these cars on the right here that are parked, are they going to be on the left in an island? And then the bike lane's going to be curbside? Or are they going to keep it like this but just make a wider bike lane? At Northeast Sacramento, they've got one of these overpasses for people on foot that want to cross the street. I'll never forget when a PBOT planner told me many years ago, when you see one of these overpasses, it means that the agency in charge of the road has just failed. They've just said, you know what, we are unable to make it safe for you. We have to create an overpass because we've given up, and or we are unwilling to make drivers constrain their movements at all to make it safer. So if you want to cross, you got to hike up a bunch of stairs and go way out of your way just to get safely across the road. You just left the 122nd and Sandy intersection, or this is the Sandy Boulevard overpass that I just went under. Tiny little bike lane here. Really not even worth having, almost. Really not, there's no protection at all, obviously. And then you have this super sketch transition here where people are coming off Sandy. Okay, so here at 122nd in Stanton, you'll see there's a flashing beacon, sort of an enhanced crosswalk behind me. It's got a painted crosswalk, a median island in the middle, and if you hit the button, it's gonna flash and hopefully make people stop. Now, I was here when they cut the ribbon on this several years ago. It's this big hullabaloo. And one of the things I'm gonna be watching closely with this 122nd Avenue project is what else they do in combination with flashing beacon crossings like this. I don't think this crossing alone really does enough. It doesn't move the needle enough to make the streets safe. You still got the basic wide streets design. You've got the same speeds for the most part. And if the city really wants to increase safety on 122nd, they're gonna have to do more than stripe crosswalks and put flashing beacons. So I think you're sort of probably getting a sense of 122nd now. Big wide intersections that are really noisy and full of fast drivers. Very, very, very wide cross sections with only a narrow little bike lane next to 5 lanes of fast moving drivers. Very stressful place to ride. And of course, I've seen in this whole afternoon, maybe 2 or 3 people in the bike lane, if that. Anybody else on a bike is relegated up to the sidewalk. So nowhere to go but up for PBOT on this project. They've got a huge challenge in front of them to tame this street. I know they can do it. The question is, will they do it? So stay tuned.